Hello, dear friends. I must confess that I do not trust this Russian character, even if he says reasonable things. But in any case, it's very curious what he says, and that is why I report it as objectively as possible. Opinion piece. Paramonov's prophecies. He speaks of the beginning of the Golden Age. On the trail of a curious character, appears as a herald of the end of time. Treasury Resolution M-1 could be a fake. His break with the Rothschilds is not confirmed. Paramonov is on the list of investigative journalists. The path of misery is inferior to the path of harmony. We live in an electronic prison of distorted reality. Let's start. The storms we have been promised would be much stronger and would be about to come very soon, according to Alexander Paramonov, who presents himself as the herald of the end times, as a man of amazing Vedic knowledge and with an extremely long list of earthly titles, including one of the richest investors in Russia, although his name appears on the list of the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists that once published the Panama and Pandora Papers, among many other documents. Paramonov presents himself as a financial advisor to the UN and head of the M-1 Treasury with the largest physical gold balance, among many other titles. He opines that the whole current nightmare will be a chapter of history definitively closed very soon, within our lifetime, according to the video New Prophecies of Alexander Nikolaevich Paramonov. He considers himself a descendant of King Solomon, who simply fulfills the wishes of the wise king, whom he defines as the Lord of the setting sun, one of the benevolent deities of light. Every time a Kali Yuga or era of darkness begins, also called the night of smoke in Slavic language, his duty is to deliver the well to the dark forces that ruled this night more than 1,000 years ago, since the previous nights were shorter. Salim would be the proper name of the god of the sunset. Salim is a name of Arabic origin, meaning safe or unharmed. Salim was the birth name of the Mughal emperor Jahangir. Salim I, Salim II, and Salim III were Ottoman sultans, and the Salim people are an ethnic group of Sudan. Apparently, there were some artifacts that were inscribed on the periphery of King Solomon, showing that he is of the light, and that he wanted to make sure that the riches of the earth were preserved, and that at the end of the dark night, those riches would be used during the transition to remove the parasitic matrix from earth, and the modern descendants of Salim would be the legal owners of that huge amount of gold, according to Paramonov, and the famous Bretton Woods Agreement is based on that gold, which is the basis of the modern monetary system. The money that was guaranteed by that cult was distributed among various countries, but they started to use and print paper money, unfortunately, just like everything else in the Dark Ages. But this will not last much longer. After the abolition of the gold standard, the Bretton Woods Agreement was modified to better suit their parasitic structures, but still the basic principle remains that whoever rules gold can print money. After the agreement, organizations like the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements were created, and soon after their creation, they were controlled by parasitic forces who believed they had the right to rule the earth temporarily, so they expanded that bank completely, controlled by a kind of Italian clan they call the Black Nobility. Paramonov believes that the M-1 Treasury would allow the transition to a paradisiacal society and that the concept of money would disappear since it would not be necessary in this future society, because poverty would be eradicated and the incentives will not be to earn more but to seek and find new opportunities and to create exceptional things that would be the driving factor of that utopian society. All of this is not new, but it is in all the prophecies, and the Hindu Brahmins have said that this would come because it would be the divine will. The only question is how to get there, because in the beginning, when the angelic forces came to begin the process of transformation, they reviewed this scenario of immediately changing to the new world and the new frequencies. The problem with that sudden scenario would have been that only 3% of life on Earth would survive such an abrupt change. The dark forces keep everyone in an electronic prison of distorted reality that is slowly breaking down. Therefore, most of the transition to the new world will be completed in our lifetime very soon, in the next few years, but it will not be sudden but gradual. The angelic forces that supervise and conduct this transition do it so that many more souls will have the opportunity to use this transit for a final purification, because very few souls would be saved if it were done suddenly. Whereas it is done gradually, many more will have the opportunity to purify themselves and to be fit for the new world. Accelerated learning. There are not only learned souls on the path of light, because in reality, many dark warriors are also realizing that the path of misery is inferior to the path of harmony. So they have turned to the side of light and will become perfect in the fire of purification, because this exceptional moment in Earth's history will provide amazing opportunities for growth. We are learning to create worlds and realities with our intention. The souls who are learning on the light side are usually beginners who are not at very high levels of learning, and the body that we possess has had its memory erased and has been modified by this distorted matrix of reality. So those who are learning the schools of light will have a lot to learn all of a sudden, and it will be a pretty intense learning, like some of those intensive language courses that you need to study 10 hours a day. Another type of souls who will get their final purification, those who come from the dark side, have a higher level of skills in terms of magic, because creating wealth with one's thoughts and intentions is magic for all practical purposes. They are also very well trained in magic, because these dark worlds advanced a lot in terms of sorcery techniques. They only like the power of light that will give soul to their creations and make them develop, flourish, and become self-sufficient. That is why they are parasites, and they are looking for some source of light to exploit and live at the expense of that which drains their energy for their own dark magic. So they have become quite skilled at that, but not because some of them are also very intelligent. These dark civilizations have also split. They are also polarizing, and some of their members will be destroyed because all darkness will be eliminated in the coming years. For those who have decided to convert to the light side, it will also be a very intense period of purification of their sins, but it will be very rewarding for them in the end, because they will become highly qualified gods of light at the end of this ordeal. Rectification. I have discovered through my dear friend Sigmund Bathory, representative of the White Mongol account, that the alleged Resolution number 11 of the International Monetary Treasury 1 or Treasury M-1, passed to me by a good friend, Luciano Pardo, issued on January 22nd and published on my channel on January 29th, which allegedly imposed a ban on activities with financial acquaintances of the Rothschild family name in the world financial and stock exchange system in any of its forms, has a part of truth and a part of lie. The mentioned resolution supposedly proclaims the termination of all relationships with the well-known Rothschild family name of financiers, and also revokes all rights of accounting, disposition and control over worldwide accounts and assets. The part of truth is that the exotic names of the mentioned accounts are authentic even if they seem strange. White Spiritual Boy, Wonder Spiritual Boy, Wonder Spiritual Brothers, Morning Star, King David, Prophet Muhammad, Dismas and Saint Timothy, White Mongolia, White Vatican, White Eagle, Mary Sinuquan or Divine Crystal, Mary Divine Barahau or Sunflower, Mary Christina or Divine Magdalene, Mary MacLean or Divine Easter Egg, Hawk, Alpha Omega, or other accounts located in different banks in 189 countries around the world. The lying part would be that such a resolution is false, even if it is an almost perfect imitation of this type of legal documents. I have not been able to confirm with absolute certainty the existence of the International Monetary Treasury 1 or Treasury M-1, although it's mentioned in different websites, of which I offer several links. Nor do I have the certainty of the signatory of the document, in quotes, His Majesty Alexander Nikolaevich Paramonov, Chief Treasurer of International Money Treasury 1, and President and Chief Operating Officer of White Spiritual Boy, RSB, World Corporation Inc., UN number 509519. So, this would be an almost perfect imitation of a legal document, both in its representation and wording, which was able to fool this deluded journalist into giving a scoop based on an impeccably presented document, for which I apologize to my readers. However, I will continue to research the issue in case I can provide further evidence as to what part of the document might be authentic and what part might be false. The Russian language website of the M1 Treasury contains other very curious resolutions. For example, Resolution number 4, under the guise of forming a new balanced global financial system, supposedly declares invalid and cancelled a long list of historical financial assets, the length of which I cannot reproduce, but you can check it out at the link in this piece. Suspects. For its part, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists offer information from Mr. Paramonov Alexander on foreign leak data that is up to date the year 2010. This database contains information on more than 800,000 offshore entities that are part of the investigation Pandora's Papers, Paradise Papers, Bahamian leaks, and offshore leaks. The data links individuals and companies in more than 200 countries and territories. Titles. Nevertheless, there are two web pages that describe this gentleman with his photo as the Chief Treasurer of the International Monetary One and explain what his responsibilities are. Paramonov is listed on the board of directors of the Sovereign Bank of the Order of Hospitallers with the following titles: Chairman of the Board of Directors, Grand Intendant of the Order of Hospitallers, Chief Treasurer of the Order of Hospitallers, Chief Treasurer of International Monetary Treasury M-1, President and Chief Operating Officer of the White Spiritual Boy RSB, Global Corp Inc. and United Nations Consultant number 509519. And there is also a state registration of a small company in the name of S.P. Paramonov Alexander Nikolaevich as a sole proprietor, based in Syktyvkar of the Russian Republic of Komi, which has its account blocked and whose date of creation was May 21st, 2003, and its date of change of status April 27, 2004. Esoteric videos. There is also the above YouTube video entitled New Prophecies of Alexander Nikolaevich Paramonov. Likewise, there is Alexander Paramonov's own YouTube channel, as well as a Facebook account of this. Paramonov's YouTube channel is called Punishment of the Creator of Ra, and has such curious video titles as The Most Global Financial Crime in History, The World Bank is Empty, The Committee of the 300 is Empty, Path of the Light, Beginning of the Golden Age, Incomprehensible Constitution of the Russian Federation, Treasury M-1 Master of Money, Sacred Knowledge, Declaration on the Genocide of the People, Declaration on the Crimes of Organs. He also had a video on the history of Shambhala, which is no longer available on YouTube, but is available on a website. Another curious video of his is titled Is Kalki Avatar Christ Really? The Shambhala Connection, the New Times and the End Times. Worldwide Appeal. Alexander Paramonov has also posted on YouTube a speech of his own entitled, in quotes, Appeal to the Leaders of the World's Countries to Overcome the Global Financial Crisis. The full title is Speech of Alexander Nikolaevich Paramonov, Head of the International Treasury M-1, to the leaders of the countries of the world on general consolidation and overcoming the global financial crisis, and is dated May 5, 2020. He also published a piece in the International Journal of Applied Economic and Business Research under the name of Alexander Vasilievich Paramonov, but it could be someone else because I was unaware of Vasilievich's name. Treasure of the Creator. Another Russian website related to this gentleman corresponds to the alleged Fund for Social and Economic Development and Regions called Creators Treasury Ra, which is described as an international financial organization designed to promote economic growth, expand trade and economic relations between countries, and develop integration processes through investment activities. The so-called Treasury of Creator Ra defines itself as the principal holder to manage all its historical assets of Russian nations, and continues to accept and return historical assets of Kievan Rus, Tatarstan, the Russian Kingdom, the Russian Empire, the Russian Republic, the Russian Federation, and other historical assets of the Russian nation, being on the territory of today's Russia and beyond the borders in other countries. End of this issue. Now another issues, another subjects. There will be no war. There will be no war because the light has won. By Mark Bogman. We were always programmed for the negative, conflict and war. Not anymore. This was the three-dimensional thinking in the past. We are in the fourth dimension, heading into the fifth. In the fifth, there is just peace throughout the world, harmony, compassion and love. Now, with the increasing frequency, Most people around the world do not want war. This concept of war and deception is over for humankind. Chess game. To prevent the outbreak of cyber war on the planet, the coalition is playing a chess game with the dark side. The coalition is shutting down their finances, blowing up their evacuated subway bunkers, arresting their leaders, etc. But the New World Order remains dangerous at the lowest levels, and so the chess game continues. In the chess game, some of the arrested and deceased leaders are apparently body doubles. The real strategy seems to be planned behind the scenes, not by the paid and masked actors. All this continues in turn against the backdrop of the divine plan, which is the departure of those who choose the light on a separate ascending timeline. Some will not ascend, many will live. Time of separation, time of bifurcation. Harmony Day. Harmony Day, Sunday, February 20th. This particular Harmony Day is considered profoundly potent for all times of awakening. That is why I have been called upon to ensure that the importance of this particular Harmony Day is fully recognized worldwide on February 20th, 2022. For 20 years, on February 20th each year, Harmony Day has been highly valued and respected for its true purpose, and this particular February 20th, 2022 is paramount for ascension and consciousness raising worldwide. The Problem of the World by Chong-Soul Guo. The West sold us the idea that capitalism is progress and success, but its repercussion is an erosion of good traditional values. The purpose of education should be to produce healthy and well-balanced children, but the focus of the education system on the brain instead of the heart has caused great pain to the world. Capitalism has no heart, so how can we progress without heart? We must take care of ourselves, and then there is hope for all humankind. In fact, capitalism has robbed us our soul, which is the true foundation of every nation. My teacher wants us to remain humankind in a capitalist world. We must develop our conscience, otherwise greed would be poison and we would lose our sanity and therefore the meaning of our life. Nor do I advocate communism, because it is another form of state capitalism with even less freedom. Where is humankind? That's what capitalism has done to many people who have no character of good humor. We don't care unless it makes money. In short, it stole our soul. Soul is compassion. Who are we as a humankind if we ignore the suffering of others? Don't gain the world and lose your soul. Wisdom is better than silver or gold. Bob Marley. What good is it to gain all the material wealth in the world and lose your soul? To gain all that the world has to offer you and lose your soul means that you have gained nothing and lost everything. He who loses his soul to gain the world makes a very bad bargain for himself, and in the end will sit as an unspeakable loser instead of the advantage he promised himself. He is ruined to all intents and purposes. He is irreparably broken, however rich and famous he may be. Sooner or later, earthly things will fade away, and that person will have lost the only part of himself that lasts forever. It is time to review and start doing things differently. Finding inner peace is very important, so that the world can change for the better. Dreams of disclosure. A year and 2 months ago in Tel Aviv, Israel, General Haimeshet, former head of the Israeli Defense Ministry's Space Directorate, sat down for an interview with the Times of Israel newspaper, saying, in quotes, "UFOnauts have asked not to disclose that they are here, The humankind is not ready for them. Americans, Israelis, and other Western nations are part of the federation with extraterrestrials. What Eshet described was something similar to what is in Star Trek, a galactic federation of advanced civilization, and he said, they want Earth to join them. Eshet was an Israeli professor, engineer, and head of space security. He oversaw the launch of 20 critical satellites. We are not alone. It's not the humankind that is holding back disclosure. The world's government remained silent. 7 years earlier, on December 30th, 2013, Paul Hellyer, Canada's former defense minister, said on an international television broadcast, "Announcer, why do you say UFOs are as real as airplanes?" Hellyer, because I know they are and have been visiting this planet for thousands of years, and there is what is called the federation of these people, and they have rules. According to a recent message, the Creator has granted permission to federation ships to appear at will in our skies. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.